Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Live Your Dreams podcast, where we share incredible, inspirational stories of those pursuing their dreams. Today, we are thrilled to have on an incredible individual who's a talented actress, writer, and director of the critically acclaimed Scrap, a deeply moving story about a single mom, Beth, navigating the challenges of homelessness while trying to reconnect with her estranged brother, played by Anthony Rapp. Scrap has captivated audiences across the country, earning accolades at great festivals such as the SoHo International Film Festival, where you were honored with the Award of Excellence in Narrative Directing. We are so blessed to welcome the incredible Vivian Kerr to the Live Your Dreams podcast. Vivian, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. I'm like, can you just like be my personal PR person? Like that intro is
You're
great.
good. You can again. This is
This
this is you, Vivian. This is you. This is what you accomplished. I'm just saying it.
I was like, you're like the ultimate hype person. I love it. Thank you.
No, it's what you have done is a blessing. And you know what's fantastic? We were just at the American Film Market with the owners of the SoHo International Film Festival, Sybil and Carlos, great people. I'm glad you got to be a part of that, because us being from the East Coast outside New York City, I always appreciate that festival. So I'm glad you won there, because I always enjoyed that over there.
Yeah, they're super nice people. What was really cool about that was, so Scrap originally was a short film, which we shot in 2018, and then it did a whole bunch of festivals in 2019.
Sure.
And one of the festivals it did in 2019 was the SoHo Film Festival.
Yes.
And then we were back there. Oh my gosh, now I'm like, the years are all blending together. I think it was 23 is when
Okay.
we were there for the feature. I think that's right, because I think it was exactly 4 years later. And that was
Wow.
wild, because when I was there with the short, I remember doing the Q&A, after our screening block, and they were, they're like, "What's next?" And I remember being like, "I really want to try to make this into a feature." So
Sure.
to come back there 4 years later and like having actually done it was like amazing. Really, really an incredible feeling.
That must be the most incredible feeling. And all of our listeners that are aspiring to be like yourself, filmmakers that are getting out there doing what they're doing, look what you accomplished. You created a short, and you said your goal was to turn it into a feature, and you came back with that feature. That is incredible, Vivian. What you're doing, you're inspirational. Really, that is so difficult to really do. I'd love to hear about the beginning of your journey, because obviously you put the work in, you put the time in. What did a young Vivian think in her life? When did this kind of start happening, when you said, you know what, I may want to be a storyteller, an actress? You're a storyteller in front of and behind the camera. I'd love to hear the start of this incredible journey.
Well, I mean, God, what's funny is I think like a lot of people, I started as an actor, so like that was primarily my interest.
Sure.
But neither of my parents were like in the industry at all. Like my dad was an attorney, my mom was in just business, sales, and grew up in Sacramento. But I was lucky because they were always like big supporters of the arts. Like we were always
Mhm.
taken to the theater, like we were taken to museums, we were just like they would just take us to everything and anything. So
Sure.
I think I always like appreciated the arts from a young age. And then yeah, I was really interested in acting, like did drama, theater class in high school, loved it. And then kind of as towards the end of high school, I was really thinking like, yeah, like maybe I want to try to go to LA and like see if I can do this. So came down to LA to study acting at USC in the theater school. And then while I was there, so the film school and the theater school there are like completely separate, but the
Sure.
film school uses a lot of the actors from the theater school in their student film projects. And because there's so many like undergrad and grad students, like there are student films being shot every weekend, like multiple
Sure.
student films. So I'd like go over to the, call board and like the film school, and like I would like basically just write down everyone's phone number and call them and just be like, "Do you need h" even if they didn't need an actor, even if they weren't casting, I'd be
Sure.
like, "Do you need help? Do you need a production assistant? Do you need" like, I'll do anything, I was a
Yeah.
camera assistant, I held the boom, I would do craft services, like, I just wanted to, like, learn how to be on sets and, like, learn how films were made, so it was actually great because, I feel lucky that I got this excellent, like, sort of training as an actor, but then I also got a lot of set experience. So by the time I was, like, in my 20s in LA, um, I was really, like I think I had that, like, indie filmmaking
Mm.
like, uh I don't know, those hours, I'd sort of put in those hours already. And so then, like a lot of actors, like I was really comfortable, um, kind of being a self-starter, like, okay, well, I've been on enough low budget sets. Like, I would be like, well, we could write a short film and just shoot it in my living room. Like, we could,
Yeah.
we could, whatever resources we had. And you sort of gradually find your tribe and you just start making your little indie projects. And I did that, even that when I was doing like little TV things or like booking roles here and there, like in between, I was always going back with like my circle of friends and just making our own work. And so that just kept going. And then by the time I got in my 30s, I was like desperate to do a feature, like really, really wanted to make a feature. Like that seemed like the goal, right? Like how, it's like, God, how are you ever gonna get the money? Like, how are you gonna find like a team to like surround yourself with who has that experience level? Um, and so I basically made the short because I was like, well, I know how to do that. So I'll just make like the best short I can make, and that'll be the proof of concept for the feature. So it was such a slow process getting there. But I also think I'm sort of a big believer that, like, things happen when, like, they're meant to happen, and I could not have think of made Scrap, when I was, like, at 25. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would have been, like,
Sure.
terrible. So I also needed that gestation period. Anyway, that's kind of the trajectory, So then I think that actor to writer to director to producer kind of pipeline is, like, we're seeing that a lot more now that people
Oh, yeah.
are saying being multi-hyphenates.
I have a question on the short. So the runtime and also was it shot in one location for our viewers that are starting up with shorts at first?
So the short actually unfortunately, it was not shot in one location. That would've been easier. The short was essentially the first, like, 15 minutes of the feature.
Okay,
So
sure.
we sort
Okay.
of encounter my character, she's waking up in her car. So we had to shoot, out and about on the streets of LA. And then we kind of follow her, like, throughout her day, and she, like, goes to her gym to shower, and then she's, like, trying to go to a job interview, and then the short sort of ends with her meeting up with her brother, and you
Okay.
kinda don't know what's gonna happen, like, if she's gonna tell him or not tell him or, what'll transpire next, and so, it just worked out that the beginning of the feature, like, made for a good short, and I know that isn't always the case, but, if it does work out that way and, like, I would highly recommend if people wanna make a feature and they sort of can, even if it's not maybe the beginning, like, they can choose a scene or a couple
Mhm.
scenes, that could really work as a standalone short.
Sure.
I mean, I think that's one way of doing it because it was really helpful to be able to have something to, like, point people to and say, like, "Look, this is a proof of concept. People like it." It got into festivals. Um,
Nice.
that was really helpful.
Thank you so much. That is incredible advice because so many people never know how to go from that making shorts to go into features, and so many creators want to. Now, when you were doing that, and it's now easier said than done thinking about it now, did you sit there and say, "Well, I just trust the process," or were there moments as a creator where you said, "Wow, I made this short and it's taking me forever to get to the feature?" Because a lot of people that are trying to get to those places in the arts, they get very discouraged during that time period, right? They think things may happen overnight. I'd love to kind of hear what's going through your mindset in between the short film and the feature film.
Yeah, no, it's none of it's easy, and I think, there were so many, like, dead ends. Like, I remember there was a production having a meeting at, like, a fancy sort of office in Beverly Hills with a production company that were basically, like, saying, "We wanna make this with you, like, this is gonna be, like, our slate, like, our one of the films that we're gonna do," and, like, kinda months would go by, and then, like, you don't really hear anything, and then, like, they're not really returning your emails anymore, and, like, like
Yeah,
and, but I remember but at the time when I left the meeting, I was like, "Oh, it's a done deal, it's
got it.
happening."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, there were, like, a lot of false starts like that where, like, you really get your hopes up and then it falls through. Again, I think that's super common. So I think you also just have to kinda keep persevering. I mean, I was, like, at that point, I had nothing to lose, and
Mm,
I mean, I would cold email producers, cold email production companies, um, you know, if I knew anyone who I met at a film festival who had worked with the producer, I would, like, be like, "Is there any way you can give me an intro?" I mean, it was like, just like most people, cold emailing, working your network, desperately begging anyone you know to help you. I mean, it was just I think I'm a big believer in that. What's that quote where it's like you have to triple your rate of failure? I think it's like a
very
it's
good.
like
Yeah.
said it okay. It's like terrible to play someone super famous. I don't know anything about sports. Um, honestly, Michael Jordan. It's so bad. But anyway, but it's like right. It's like if you want to speed up your success, right? Just like
Yeah.
commit with failing a lot faster and a lot harder. as long as you're doing it in like a professional way, you're not being a weirdo. I'm a
Yeah.
big
Oh yeah.
um
Fail forward mentality. Just, fail, learn
Mhm.
from that, and just keep going.
yeah. Yeah, and because I think, there's no I mean, yes, I would have loved to have been like, what are the I won't say like the kids, what are the kids called these days? A nepo baby? That would have been great, but I'm
Nothing
not.
wrong with that, right? No, no, no. No, I mean, I always say to people that have that situation, like, good for them. Don't hate on people that have that. I mean, because everybody would take it if they had the chance. Nothing wrong with that.
No, and also, there's cons to that too. I mean, like, can you
Of
imagine
course, yeah, yeah.
questioning if you're getting something on your own merit or not, or, questioning if people are being sincere or just using you for your parents. I mean, so
Yep.
there's any situation has drawbacks, but yeah, I just think that was like just not giving up. There was just so many moments where I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get this film made. Um, because we'd shot the short in 2018. It did festivals in 2019, and I didn't shoot the feature until 2021.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, yeah.
It was not an overnight thing at all.
No, no, and usually it's not. And now I'm so excited to hear about your process. You go from the short to the feature. First off, you must be on like cloud nine, right? I mean, it's happening now. You get there. It's about time to do it. How did you love that experience? Did you have one, an amazing film, an amazing script? You did an amazing job yourself as an actress, but you also have an amazing group of actors and people around you. I mean, what you accomplished by bringing this group together, it's nothing short of phenomenal, really. It's amazing what you did.
Oh, thanks. I think I just got really lucky because you can make the feature sort of get more real. Like you just start to build like one piece at a time, right? So you're like, okay, you
Mhm.
work really hard on the script. So it's like, okay, now we have a script that's decent. Then you're like, all right, what do I have to do now? Okay, I have to attach a producer. I have to, try to get name talent attached. And so yeah, there were just like these little milestones along the way. Like I remember when because Anthony Rapp who plays Ben, my brother in the film, he had done the short. We'd met on the short.
Mhm.
I loved working with him. And so I kind of wrote the script with him in mind.
Sure.
But he could have read the script and not wanted to do it,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so I remember, and it was like, I mean, it was like a full on like year later, I think, that I said that we sent him the feature script through his reps.
Sure.
And that was a big deal the day that we got the email back that he was interested in doing it and would give us oh my God, what's it called? A letter of intent,
Yeah,
right?
that's huge for somebody like that who what an incredible actor. I mean,
Huge.
an
And
actor's actor, yeah.
yeah, and I think also too, it's like, he didn't have to do that, right? It's like um, you don't know me that well. Like, I mean, we did the short, but like, you don't know me that well. You don't
Sure.
know what kind of feature director I'm going to be because I've never directed a feature. So it's not like I had a directing reel where I could show him, like, look at all this work I've directed.
Yes.
Nope. So like, he was really on. I mean, we might have sent him like a director's statement or like, um, God, I don't even know if we sent that. It might have just been the script. I mean, I think it was
Great.
just,
Well,
an evaluation.
congratulations on that. That's huge.
Yeah, and so I think like that, that was a huge piece because then I was like, okay, I have this script and now I have him in
Yes.
the lead and like it's starting to feel more real. And so I think just as you go, you sort of bring on these people. And then yeah, as we were getting closer to shooting, we did hire casting directors and
Yes.
they found um Lana Parrilla, or say
Yep.
found, like she wasn't known. Um they got the script to Lana Parrilla and she then came on board to play Stacy,
Oh, yeah.
Anthony's.
Yep.
And that was huge. I thought, "Oh god," because once it's a huge relief, I think, when you know that you've cast someone who is just gonna knock it out of the park because you're like you don't have
Yep.
to worry as the director, you're like, "Oh, well, just by casting them, it's gonna be good." So, like, I don't and then that was my experience on set because every single actor, was phenomenal, and I
Right.
just was like, it was just great because, they're going to elevate your writing in a way where, it's almost like you're gonna get all this credit for having written a script, but, like, they made it 20% better, just by
Right.
performing it. Um, so, yeah, I was, like, thrilled, but, yeah, I mean, it was wild, like, the weeks kind of leading up, like, when it was really starting to come together and happen, like, it was really, really exciting. I was working, like, meeting every day with, our DP, like, shot listing, like looking at scouting all the locations, like, and that really in a very, very quick period of time, like 6 to 8 weeks, it just finally came together,
Mm.
and it was happening. And so it was wild. I mean, it was one of those things where you're like really, really excited that it's happening, but also a little nervous because you're about to step through a door that's like you're
Yeah.
like, oh, like I'm about to do the thing I said I was going to do. Uh-oh, and I remember having this moment where I was like thinking about playing Beth and being like, and I was working with an acting coach who I love, I've worked with for years. And I remember having this kind of weird moment where I was like, "Oh, I'm actually gonna have to like do this. Like I'm actually gonna be in it. Like I have to do it."
That's
I
right.
think,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, like it was a little bit like, oh, but it's gonna be kind of hard. Oh wow, huh? Like uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so it is kind of a wild thing. I mean, it was very like miraculous, um, but also like a little scary too. Like kind of leveling up is always scary, and I
Oh,
think
yeah.
people don't talk about that enough.
It's so nice that you said that because it 100% is when you get out of your comfort zone and you start to level up, you should be scared because it is scary. You're definitely right. I mean, now, I mean, look what you're accomplishing. Not only are you the lead in this, you're directing your feature, and it's a massive level up. And now you have on these names around you, people around you that are believing in you. It is incredibly scary. And I hope people that are listening, aspiring filmmakers, any entrepreneur really, when you take that kind of leap of faith to take that step up, it's very nerve-wracking the first time, and I think anytime you do it, no matter how experienced you get, I think every time you do something a little bit beyond your comfort realm, it's a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the first day on set, like, I was a little bit sort of like, "How's this gonna work?" Like, "I'm not sure." And then I would say, like, by halfway through the 2nd day, I was like, "This is great. This
You
is
got
going."
it.
I was like, "This is perfect." Like, I really was like, "This is," like I was saying before about maybe not being able to do it when I was in my mid-20s. I felt like, "Oh, I'm at the point now in my life and in my career where I have enough experience." Like, I'm trying to think of an example. It's like, I don't know, like, I think it would be maybe if you were, like, a doctor and you, like, studied things, like, out of a book,
Oh,
and
yes, yep.
maybe the first time you're actually performing the surgery, you're like, "Oh, like, I even though I've never done this before, all of that study now pays off," because, like,
Mm,
I really know even though I've never done it, I know exactly what I'm doing. Like, it was a very cool feeling. It felt like everything that I had done, even, when I was talking about undergrad, like, all those hours being on student film sets,
yes.
all those hours taking acting class, all those hours, like, it all was under my belt, and I think I was able to then, like, be ready, when that opportunity came.
I was gonna say earlier that success leaves clues for Anthony to come on later on to the feature because he saw what you did wearing all those hats in the short and then doing it again in the feature. He was confident because he was watching you in the first time around.
Well, I should clarify, I actually didn't direct the short, so
Oh.
it was another thing where I was like, because originally I listened to, and we could talk about this or not, but I'd sort of taken, I think, some bad advice where I think some people were telling me like, I don't know if you should act and direct at the same
Mm,
time, like, I don't know
sure.
if that would be a good idea," and I really wanted to do it, but I sort of, like, listened to them a little bit,
Mm.
um, and the director we hired on the short, she was great, like,
Oh,
she
so
really.
she's great. No, no, absolutely not saying anything negative at all, of course.
But, the process of that, like, I really was like, "I should do it." Sort of, I'm like, no, like, I was kind of like, "What? No, I really wanna do that, like, I really do, and I think it's gonna be okay." So, like, I understand that, other people, like, are just trying to be like, they're just trying to help or whatever, they're just
Of
trying to,
course.
they're not, like, trying to, like, crush my dreams or whatever, but, I was just thought, if I really wanna do both, like, if what happens is that, the film is badly directed or it's badly acted, like, that's on me. So, like, I was like, "There's nothing to lose." Like, "Oh, no, I made a bad film. Oh, well," like, like, "I'm doing this." Like, I was like that, and I'm so glad I did because for a while, I was meeting with directors, like,
Sure.
having interviews, like, possibly considering collaborating with a director for the feature, and yeah, now I'm like, "Thank God I didn't."
No, Vivian, you made the right choice. And what's incredible though is that is a credit to who you are. Even going back to you said like your undergrad, you took the time to do the work, to learn sets, to go around. I mean, when you have somebody like you that's so driven, that makes all the difference, right? Because if somebody said, "Well, I just want to direct a short film or a feature film and also star in it," most people, I guess, why they gave you that advice, like you said, they're not giving you bad advice. They're giving
Mhm.
you general advice where most people probably couldn't handle doing both. But a very driven person that really wants to be great at their craft and what they do, that's great credit to you because you did a phenomenal job at both.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think also too, it's just like with experience, I think it seems like a common thing where people kind of get to a point in their lives, like, whenever it is, like sometimes it's in your 30s or it could be later or earlier, but you kind of get to this point in your life where you're like, kind of like, I have to kind of either do what I said I was going to do or just stop because like if I'm not
Yeah.
really doing it, like what am I doing,
Hmm.
Um because there are a lot of people I notice, like even my actor friends, there were so many of them who would like, say, like, "Oh, yeah, I'm still acting," or "I wanna act," but, like, they weren't actually acting, like, they weren't
Mm.
auditioning for anything,
Yeah.
they weren't pursuing representation, they weren't even in acting class, they weren't doing any play like, they weren't doing anything related to acting, and so I was sort of, like, thinking, of the same thing where it's like, "Okay, well, at some point, if you wanna be a director and call yourself a director, like, you're gonna have to direct." So, like,
Hey,
um,
you did a great job.
like,
Yeah.
you gotta
Work.
you gotta do it, so, yeah, and I'm so, so glad I did.
No, you did really, like Chris said,
Yes.
fantastic work. And now, your movie's out. People can go out there and get it. It's really a phenomenal film. You can go on Amazon. You can see it in a lot of different places. You guys did an amazing job. Now, film successful. You're doing great. I'm excited to feel that after all that great success, you have a lot going on now that's going to be happening in the future. I'm excited to hear about what's next on the horizon because everybody can get out there. We'll have links in the description below on all of our channels. We'll have links to the film, links to your bio, Vivian, everything you're doing. But I'd love for people to learn more about you, and what's next going on in your world.
Well, I've shot my second feature, and that just had its world premiere in Newport Beach Film Festival. So
Congratulations. That's
Right.
really
Good.
fantastic.
thank you. So yeah, it was a little bit like one of those things where the festival run of Scrap went for 2 years. So like it
Sure.
just
Yeah.
we had our world premiere in Deauville in 2022, and then we just kept getting accepted to more festivals. So um I did not realize, like, a festival run could go that long, and sort of
Yeah.
in the middle of that, like, I had this other script, and luckily some of the investors, in Scrap were interested in, like, supporting what I wanted to do next, so, um, yeah, so I was just, again, really fortunate to, like, be in a position but again, like we're talking about, it's like being ready, I
Mhm.
had another script already written.
Yes.
I, already kinda had a plan for how that could get made, so when people were asking what do you wanna work on next? It was like, well, here's a script that's already polished, like,
Yeah.
uh, that whole preparation beats opportunity thing, I'm, like, big believer in that, so yeah, so I shot my, second feature and, yeah, it couldn't be more different, so Scrap is, like, modern day Los Angeles. This film is called Seance, it is Victorian, like, 1890s,
Oh, wow.
It was great. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
yeah, it's sort of Hitchcock-esque. It's about 4 characters who, um, sort of are forced to spend the night in a haunted house, and, yeah, it's drama, it's about grief, one of the couples has recently lost a child from drowning, and they're kind of dealing with the grief of that, and, my character, the wife, is sort of thinks that the little girl's ghost might be in the house, so yeah, it's very if you like kind of old school psychological thrillers, like the original Haunting or
Oh
like
yeah. Yeah.
Ingrid Bergman, that's the kind of vibe. So yeah, so that's now kind of just starting its festival run, and I'm actually gonna be at the Beaufort Film Festival in a few weeks with that
Nice.
film. So yeah, it's like I'm like really I feel very fortunate because it's Scrap is now out on VOD, people
Oh
can
yeah.
and then I have a second feature that's, hopefully gonna do festivals. Hopefully not 2 years of festivals because that was a little bit but, um yeah, and then, like, right now I'm writing my 3rd feature, so I'm just kind of trying to keep
Fantastic.
this going. I love independent film, and I would love to be able to continue to direct independent films. Not that I would turn down studio films, but, uh, continue to do this as long as I can. I think, once you've found something that's so satisfying, you just wanna keep doing it over and over again.
It's great. It reminds me of what the saying, luck favors the prepared. And you said when preparation meets opportunity, you're prepared. When the opportunity comes, you're ready to go and you're doing it again. It's very exciting. Are you going to be in Sundance by any chance? Are you going to pop over there next week?
Yeah, yeah, I'll be at Sundance for the 1st weekend.
Oh, fantastic.
We'll
See you
we'll
then.
all we'll all have to get together at Sundance and have a really great time because again, it's always great to do interviews live. We should do something live in person. It'd be fantastic. We can talk about anything that's going on because it's always great. We have a lot of great interviews going on out there at Sundance. So that'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited just to, get out of LA. I think it's always nice to for a change of scenery.
Oh yeah, no, no, especially what's going on, and bless everybody that's going on in LA, and we'll support everybody. Obviously, the amazing individuals in the fire department and the volunteers that have worked so hard to save. What's been going on in LA is just devastating. It's heartbreaking, and then we give our prayers to everybody that's out there. Not much you can say about it,
Yeah, yeah.
but again, on a nice positive note. Now, no, I think it's no, no, no. I really, what you're doing, Vivian, is amazing. I mean, you are such an inspiring individual for somebody. Literally, you talked about shorts in 2019, and now you're talking about your third feature film. Talking about ambition, right? Like your second one's happening, it's there, and now you're talking about getting into the third one. What you have accomplished is amazing. Most people do not do this ever in their career, like you said. Many people in any entrepreneurial craft, and I'll talk about, acting, directing, writing. It's like being an entrepreneur, right? For those of you that are not in the arts business, we have a lot of listeners that may also be in, business side of things. It's like running your own company. You are your own entity per se. And you
Yeah.
said it best. Most people that do these artistic endeavors, well, I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a writer. They're not writing anything. They're not directing. They're not in acting classes. They're not doing anything to pursue their craft. They're just claiming to be something. You went out there and did major things, writer, director, act. These are huge positions, did them all well. And you went from being shorts to doing your third feature in 5 or 6 years. That's incredible. Really. What you have accomplished is just massive.
Well, thank you. That's really nice of you. But yeah, but I also think too, like I did have years where I sort of let opportunities slip through my fingers. I
Sure.
think there were, opportunities I had that maybe I didn't take advantage of. There were maybe people I met that I was too timid to follow up with, right? It's like
Mhm.
someone would maybe give you a business card, but like if you don't really believe in yourself, you're never gonna send them an email because it seems too scary, right?
Yeah.
To be like, oh no, I don't want to send a stranger an email and ask them for something. I don't want to bother them. Um, but you also realize too, like, I don't know. I mean, there's just nothing wrong with an email. Like there's nothing, I mean,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
emails from people. I don't have time to respond to all of them, but like, I don't know, like if some composer like emails me and says like, "Oh, hey, I saw Scrap or whatever, like, I'd be interested in working with you someday. Like, here's my resume." I might not even email them back necessarily, but like I probably will like file it in like a,
Of course. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
composer folder, but like, crew folder or something,
Mhm.
in Gmail just to kind of like so that somewhere down the road, like maybe I do need a composer. And if I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, maybe I would just search composer and like look through the emails that came up, right? So I think
100%.
yeah, I think like, we don't maybe put ourselves out there enough because I had a friend who used to say, which again is, I think it's a super famous quote, right? That it's like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
That's
Um,
actually, I love that. I love that.
and I think we all have like such high expectations of ourselves that like, it's like, oh, well, I don't want to send the script out because it's not, perfection. It's like, well, it's never going to be perfection. So like, as long as you're like, 75% happy with it, like send it out, like
Yeah.
let, you know, just keep the ball moving forward somehow. Because
Like that. I like what you're saying about this being persistent, consistent with the cold emails. It reminds me of this phrase, "The pen is mightier than the sword." I mean, it's not a pen anymore; it's an email. But this way,
yeah,
you're getting the message across. You're building your network of people throughout the years. I see when actors all of a sudden, 25 years in, they're getting more work, writers, directors, because you built that network over the
Mhm.
past 25 years by compiling these emails and searching and reaching out to people at a time when they're looking for work and you're the perfect opportunity was presented to them.
yeah, and I think too, like there's something um to be said for like just telling people what you want, like sort of saying like, look,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to whatever, like I'm trying to meet more producers or I'm trying to get my first funding for my first feature. I'm trying to so that people really want to help each other. Like people really love making connections. And so if someone says to me like, I don't know, I'm, I'm looking to build branded storytelling or something, right? Like, so I'm just trying to think of something specific. Like, I would kind of file that away in the back of my head, and then if I, met someone 6 months later, and they're like, I have this branded storytelling company. I'm like, oh, you should meet so and so
Exactly
because
right.
I'm interested in that. Like, you guys should connect. Here's their number. Maybe I'll do an email intro. And for the most part, in my experience, like people love to help each other. So I think
Yeah.
you can't you have to allow yourself to be helped. And I think one of the best ways you can do that is just be very clear on what you want and then tell people what you want so that you can be in the back of people's minds.
So well said. So well said. Amazing advice. Vivian, really, you are a phenomenal individual, an inspiring individual. For our listeners, where can we learn more about you? Because I am sure that there's going to be a lot of people wanting to learn websites, Instagram, they can follow, any place we can learn more about you.
Well, thank you. My production company is called Rue d'Anjou.
Okay.
Um, and that is on Instagram at Rue d'Anjou, and I'm on Instagram at Vivian Kerr. And yeah, my website is viviankerr.com and has all my stuff on there.
Well, we will make sure to be promoting all of your links if you don't mind in all of our descriptions. We want to make sure everybody can see what you're doing and people want to be inspired by individuals like yourself. Vivian, really, you are fantastic. Is there anything you want to tell anybody out there? Inspirational last words or inspirational last words or words of thought, advice, things to do, not to do, anything you'd like to leave our audience with before we conclude today?
I mean, I think I'll just do a shameless plug. So Scrap is available
Love
now
it.
on Apple or Amazon or Fandango at home for rental or purchase. And if you're, an Anthony Rapp fan from Rent or Star Trek Discovery or Lana Parrilla from Once Upon a Time, they're phenomenal in this movie. And it's a really nice dramedy. It has got some humor. It's got some serious issues as well. But it's my first feature, so I hope people will check it out.
I
I
do have one question. I don't know if I can wait till next week. What does
Yeah.
Riganjo mean?
Oh, it's a street, in Paris. It's a really small street in Paris, and my grandparents used to live there.
Oh,
Oh, wow, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
I know it's maybe not the best name because I think people are like, "Wait, what is that?" Like, but
I love it. I love it. Now they're gonna know because I just asked what it means, and and it reminds me. My grandparents raised me, so that's very beautiful. That years that homage
Oh.
to them.
Yeah, yeah, I was like, I mean, I came up with it really, really quickly. I was like, "Oh god, I need a company name. Like, what do I do?" Um, and I remember asking my dad about, like, whether or not I should use it, and he was like, "No one's gonna know what it means. Like, it's gonna sound like you're, like, a French company or something." I was like, "Well, I don't know. Like, I can't come up with anything else." So, now I'm really happy I chose it because it's,
I like it.
family, you know?
Absolutely. You're 100% right. Vivian, you are inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Really, you are an incredible individual. Really, for the Live Your Dreams podcast, I'm Joe Gawalis.
Where's Victor?
Vivian Kerr, everybody, Scrap is available on all major VOD platforms. Make sure to get out there. Amazon is one of them. Fandango now. You can get out there. Rent it is 100% worth it. The cast, Vivian's acting, her directing is phenomenal. The storytelling, you are going to love it. Spend the time, and especially those that are watching, a lot of aspiring artists, actors, and entrepreneurs. This affects all of you. We have to support the independent arts like this. Get out there, purchase films like this. Scrap is something that is going to change not just independent filmmaking, but it's going to inspire literally a whole other realm of filmmakers coming up. We have to support each other. Make sure to get out there, purchase this, share it on your social media pages. Vivian, thank you so much for coming on.